Hi, this is Sanjay Parihar. I'm from Houston, Texas. I'm a technologist, and now we're gonna get some visitor view, tourist view, as such, as we promised earlier. So here we are. I'm with my friend Victor. Hey, Victor, how are you?
Hey, hey, good. How are you?
Thank you for joining the show. Thank you.
Absolutely.
And Victor is in New York right now, right?
Yeah.
New York. Okay, great. So Victor, this is about as we know that the whole tourism industry is going through a lot of reformation and innovation as such, right? We wanted to know the customer view and tourists, and I remember from old discussion that you are adventurous sort of, you know, tourist, and you had visited to India as well, right?
Yes, I have. Yeah, I try to when I can. It's a bit harder as I get older, but
Hmm.
I've I spent a lot of time traveling over the last 10, 15 years.
10, 15 years. Where do you travel? Tell us more about that.
I don't know the number of countries, but it's got to be close to 80. Um,
Ah,
and
80, 80 or 18.
yeah, it's 80. And I was fortunate enough to be able to take off extended time a couple of times in my life,
Hmm.
and call it like retirement before retirement if you can, and you're able to do a lot and see a lot if you're able to have an extended period of sabbatical. So South America, Africa, Asia, you name it, I've been everywhere, but in terms of continent except for Antarctica. And
Hmm.
uh, I just love it. It's really part of my DNA and something
Hmm.
that I seek out every year, even if it's only for a week or two. I'll seek out at least one exotic location a year.
Hmm. One tour of you, definitely I remember we were working together, and you just took 6 months off or something, right? For going to Peru for mountain hiking. That I remember. That was.
Yes, I went there with my brother, and I was able to kind of venture around, and then did a tour through South Africa, and then over to Asia,
Hmm.
uh, and back again. So yeah,
Hmm.
it's been a blessing for sure.
Awesome, man. And you traveled to India as well, right? Which part in India you traveled so far?
When many ago, I went to the northern regions
Hmm.
of India, and I went to the border of Pakistan, Amritsar, Bhopal, Dalhousie, the Golden
Hmm.
Triangle,
Hmm.
east to Patna,
Patna. Hmm.
Bodh Gaya,
Bodh
south
Gaya.
to
Bodh Gaya. Hmm.
Bhopal, and then back up. So quite a few different places, and stayed with families the entire time I was there, which was really nice.
Oh, you went with family there?
I had a friend who had family, and
Okay.
was able
Hmm.
to pick up with them in each of the cities, for most of the cities.
Wow. So now the magic question now, are you planning to visit anytime soon in this COVID-19 or after COVID-19? What's your plan look like?
Uh, yeah, I mean, absolutely. It's always on the radar,
Hmm.
in terms of specifically India, because it's such a big country.
Hmm.
It, other areas of the world, absolutely. I do kind of keep an eye on what's happening right now, and I'm not putting myself in any precarious positions, but I have been on a plane since COVID. I went
Hmm.
to Europe, and it was interesting. It was a bit. People were a bit nervous, and it
Hmm.
was a contrarian move by me. But it wasn't very crowded, and people were very cautious, and I felt
Hmm.
a bit uncomfortable, to be honest. But I think it was more about learning about how things were actually going in terms of the infection rate, et cetera. It's
Hmm.
significantly in terms of the services
Hmm.
provide, and how they'll maybe even reconstruct airplanes to make them more safe potentially.
Hmm. So did you travel during this COVID-19 as well?
I did, yes, I did. I went to Denmark, and I was there for
Hmm.
2 flew back, and I
Wow.
took different airlines there and back, and they had
Hmm.
different just to solving for minimizing interaction between myself and the staff.
Hmm.
pre-populating bag food and giving you 2 liters of water instead of filling up each time. So there was a change, but it was okay.
Did you? How do you feel now? I mean, it was pretty interesting that you traveled during COVID-19, that too from New York. New York was like burning, and great. So, how was your experience? I mean, overall, was it people were nervous, or was you nervous while going back and forth? How was the mood of the people as such?
People in the airport were quite, I would say, particularly on the flight out. I think as people understood more about what was happening and getting more information and things started to kind of trend downward, I think people started to ease up a little bit. But was unsure if it was going to continue to spiral as I had flown out of the U.S. You don't touch things that are in common areas. Like you try to avoid the bathrooms. You wash your hands using sanitizer. Often you wipe things down when you get to your seat if you bring your own sanitation. Again, you try to bring your own water, your own food. And most people were, you have to wear a mask. And some people were even wearing hazmat suits.
Oh.
Okay. A few of them. So it was kind of a weird vibe, but I felt safe because everyone else was pretty paranoid and trying to do it really properly. I didn't see anyone who was coughing or sneezing or looked sick. So I felt people were being conscientious about their decision to travel and doing it properly.
Wow. And the same thing you saw while coming back from Denmark to US as well.
Yeah, it was, there was space between myself and others on the plane by design. The first plane that I took over, they actually served hot food. On the back, they just provided you a bunch of food in a pre-sealed bag. So you there was never a chance for that food, I guess, to be exposed to anything on the plane. And it was a little bit less of a nice experience, I would say, because it felt like you were kind of flying domestically or on a lower cost airline. But the trade-off in safety, I guess there was some value there.
Right. And now moving forward, let's say, and I'm sure when you visited during COVID-19, you're going to visit again. I mean, after a month or so, right? What is your main concern now, and how would you reduce that concern as such?
Again, I think it's really around going to areas in New York even was a bit difficult, but traveling to areas where I'm going to be a bit like maybe there's less safety. That's one. And where there's maybe less facilities, right? If something bad were to happen, would there be the opportunity to be taken care of in that particular environment? I think now, there's a lot of kind of filtration and air process through the planes. And even some airlines were stating that they were, enforcing the air to go only the length of the plane, but not horizontally to try to prevent cross-contamination. Does that actually solve for, preventing that, virus or whatever the case may be from going to one person to the next? Unclear. So I think if planes were able to sort of kind of create their own sort of person by person or seat by seat filtration, or to create that kind of micro environment to protect others, that would be an interesting way to solve it. And I think additionally, the face masks are a good idea, just as kind of a brute force attempt at preventing the spray of any kind of virus or bacteria. Right.
And let's say you travel to India, what would be your, how do you think that, transport would be more safe or hotel would be more safe? What should they do in general from your point of view?
Yeah, it's tough because, the trains are always very full there. Generally, very populated country. I would say that it's going to be tougher, in my opinion, to kind of implement, broad stroke policies for such a large country, and where it's a very social country as well, where people are very comfortable being in crowded areas and being around each other and touching each other, and so that's going to have to be a cultural change, or there's going to have to be some additional infrastructure that's put in place to help people mitigate the risk of spreading.
Right.
And it's going to be a challenge. I don't have a silver bullet, except that people are going to have to give each other some more space and use sanitation, like hand sanitizer and masks for the foreseeable future.
Mm-hmm. Let's say you go to India and there is a transportation car is waiting for you. What will make you more comfortable in riding that car? Or yeah.
I mean, I think there's probably some value in having separation between the driver and the passenger in the back seat. A lot of drivers in the U.S. are already doing that just to protect themselves. They're wearing masks. Having sanitizer in the car will be helpful, so that people that they're proactive about that. I think that's really important, having those facilities available for people to help them. And you go to the bathroom and sometimes they have the automatic sprayer that goes on the bathroom. That's something that can be employed in a car, and instead even people want. I mean, that might be another option.
And how about hotel? So let's say you start from car, now you went to which will reduce your concern as such?
I think limiting the amount of queues that you have to face when you get into a hotel, using your phone maybe more, or to check in, keyless check-ins, things where you really don't have to interact with people,
right.
and for a sustained period of time, and doing things yourself, I think is probably where it's at. That way people can kind of manage their own distance and do things on their own time. So long as they're, maintaining the security of the building, et cetera. I think also, hotels generally do a decent job of making sure you're walking into a clean environment. But certainly, ensuring that they're using the right products, and that there's even, some way that environment is clean of viruses or bacteria would be great. I don't know if there's any such a tool or service, but be pretty interesting way to kind of solve it.
Great. And I think it's a great thought. And while we are about wrapping up our call, anything else which you think should be done for your future visit to either Europe or India or anywhere else? Anything else should be done?
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult because, we're in a very interesting time where you want to be safe, but safety sometimes comes with intrusiveness and, lack of privacy. And monitoring and tracking people, particularly those that are sick and, maybe spreading to others, requires tracking. And, I think that's probably a useful tool, but there's, pluses and minuses to that. The other thing is that, monitoring temperatures of people. So you walk into an environment, whether it's a hotel or cab, and being able to identify whether that person has a fever is like kind of a pretty quick way to understand if there's any risk associated with that encounter. So I think that also could be useful as well.
Great. Awesome. Well, it was always great talking to you, Victor. Thank you. Thank you for joining the show. Thank you.
Absolutely.